Hi, I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin.
And I'm Arthur Nolan.
And welcome to Making It Work. Making It Work deals with a lot of dynamics. Today, we're going to talk about lifting burdens, surviving abuse. Today on our broadcast, we have Candance Bone. Welcome, Candance, to the program.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
I have known you since you were 6 years old.
7.
6.
Oh, I thought 7.
I know when I met you, and I know how I met you. I've looked at you grow over the years. I've seen you go off to college. You were Miss Peterson, crowned the queen. I was there.
That's right. That's right.
Stay with me.
Okay.
And seeing you go off to Oakwood College in Huntsville, Alabama, now Oakwood University, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree.
Social work.
Social
work.
Social work.
But it was a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science?
BSW.
A BSW. Okay, Bachelor of Science, Social Work. And returning back home. And from there, a story begins.
Yes.
We want you to share your testimony with our viewers on Making It Work. Would you do that for us?
Yes. I returned from Oakwood College in 2001, ready to take this journey of life. I left Oakwood, not married, not engaged, not without a boyfriend, and I thought when you went to Oakwood, you were supposed to get one of those.
One of those.
One of those. Anyhow, but I embarked in what I guess some would call the real world. Faced with challenges of peer pressure, because before I'd never felt what peer pressure was. I was in school. I was raised in an Adventist school with Pearson Warren Academy. I went to Oakwood. So the principles my parents taught me were there. There was no one saying, hey, come on, let's drink. Come on, let's have premarital sex. There was no one saying, let's get in fights. I didn't have that. So I was protected in a way. When I came home, I was a victim of sexual assault first by a visitor of our church. I trusted that within the walls of my church, I was protected. Little did I know that strangers, predators come to church as well. So after that sexual assault, I remember basically kind of turning away from God, because here I had kept myself pure, a virgin, followed what God had told me to, and I said, how could this happen to me, a daughter of a teacher of an Adventist school? My home was together. My parents are still married, going on 40 years. Wow. How can this happen to me? And I was ashamed, because I thought I should have known better. So I went from there to not trusting anyone, not trusting to talk to anyone about what I was feeling, the pain I was feeling. I didn't even talk to my parents about what happened. I just went on ahead because I felt ashamed.
So business as usual?
Business as usual. I was the Sabbath school teacher for the kindergarten class, and I became the choir director for the children, and I just went on. I'm like, let me go ahead and continue to act and praise God, but still feeling fearful on the inside. So that...
Let me stop you there. And you had just finished your degree in social work.
Yes.
And were you working in social work?
Yes, I was.
So you know the theories and the principles and how to help people, but you did not apply it to your own life.
I did not know how to help myself.
Okay.
Even at Oakwood, I had worked with our domestic violence group, answering phone calls, crisis hotline. I knew everything. That's why I believe I was ashamed, because I said, Candance, you're supposed to know better. You were supposed to see the signs of this coming some way, somehow. So I was ashamed, but I went on ahead. I called myself pressing through, moving forward. But inside I was hurting and I was scared.
You didn't get to a point where you ever tried to consider charging any charges against this person, or?
No. Fear is something. You know, you see it in the movies where you say, hey, you're going to run when you see that person coming for you. But the woman usually falls down, she screams, or she doesn't say anything. So that fear, because I felt like maybe I did something wrong, and I was afraid of people judging me, it kept me from just talking about it. It was like, what would I say? I went on a date with a guy I've just met. He was in my church, and this is what happened. I didn't know. Now that I speak about it, it makes sense. Like, yeah, go press charges. But then I was only 21. I said, well, what am I supposed to say?
This person did he ever come back around the church, or have you seen him after this?
After that occurred, I think I saw him, 2 months had passed. He visited the church again, and I could have fell down the stairs. I remember walking up my home church is City Temple in Detroit, Michigan. So I remember walking up one set of our stairs to our sanctuary, and then there's another set across the way. And as I was walking up, I saw him standing in the vestibule. I stopped. I walked out the door and went home that day. I said, oh, he's here. Then years passed, and I ran into him in a public place. And I believe he was with a probation officer, because the lady told me, she came to me, because he came to speak to me, and she said, man, why are you talking to this man? Don't you know he's a rapist? And I stopped and said, oh, wow, well, at least somebody else knows. And left it like that.
The probation officer told you?
I believe she was, because for her to say that type of information, just come out and say it was just, all right, how would you know what I know, where I kept it inside? So that's kind of where that's ended. Prayerfully, that's where that has ended. But I haven't seen that individual in years. Years. So after that, having the fear, having the shame, in not trusting people, I did not turn to guys in the church to date. I was cautious, and I turned to people on the outside. Guys who, I guess, felt like they could beat somebody up, or they just had a certain look about them that wasn't, hey, I'm innocent, and then you come and fool me. I kind of knew who you were from the get-go. So that's kind of where I turned to after that. So I entered this relationship with a gentleman. I was in a relationship for about 8 years. And when it first started off, it was everything I guess I wanted it to be. We had premarital sex. It was carefree. It didn't have any really strings attached. Into the relationship, my name wasn't Candance. I was called derogatory names. The B word, the H word, the C word, stuff I never thought I would hear. But because I felt below anything because of the sexual assault, I just took it. Though my parents told me you're a child of God, and they told me daily you are beautiful, outside of them, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it at all. So anyhow, I went on in this relationship, but still in church, still performing my duties in the church. Still smiling every Sabbath. But I look forward to coming to church. You know, I look forward to coming to church because there was this burden on me that I wanted to lift. Everything I did through the week, I kind of wanted to get rid of it, but I didn't know what to say or how to say it. I went to church to pray, like, Lord, please let him be nice to me. You know, please let me find a way to convert him. Please let me be better. You know, I'll be praying that prayer instead of get me out. that kind of thing. So anyhow, I went on through this relationship, and yeah, I was hit. I was pushed around, and it wasn't an everyday thing. It was just demeaning, and to the point I just lost my self-worth. And then I started thinking, I'm a social worker. I'm going to clients' homes and telling them, you need to get out of this abusive relationship, but I'm getting one myself,
How did you feel when you first got hit, though, Candace? I mean, was it, something that you just accepted, or,
When I first got hit, I felt unreal. I remember what brought about it. We had moved in together because I thought I was supposed to be a certain girlfriend. I didn't know really how to be a girlfriend because I didn't date in college, and I didn't have the dating experience in high school because my mom was a teacher. My dad said, this isn't happening until you graduate. So I didn't have the experience to say, hey, this isn't supposed to be or whatever. So what I had was images from television of what things are supposed to happen. So when arguments came and disagreements, I said, is this how we're supposed to argue? Is this what's supposed to happen? When he lost his home in foreclosure, I said, I guess I'm supposed to be super girlfriend and allow him to move in with me, though I knew it was wrong. Like, what am I'm supposed to do? I think this is what I'm supposed to do. You're supposed to support the man you're with and lift them up and get them going. And maybe if I did this, he'll be nicer to me. Just maybe. So when I first hit, it was unreal. Because I said, I have done all this. I have been so kind. I haven't fought you back or anything. And I felt I didn't deserve to be hit. But I didn't know who to turn to. Because in domestic violence relationships, I had studied the domestic violence field. Remember, I was a counselor. So I had been isolated by this time from my friends. The individual found fault with everybody in my circle, my parents, my brother, my sister, anybody, my church. Everything that identified me, he found fault with. And it started with like maybe a simple complaint I may have said, like, I'm so tired of this person doing this, that. And he will piggyback on it. And every time I brought up that person's name, he'll bring up the negative thing they may have done. So when he first hit me, I knew I didn't deserve it, but I didn't know who to turn to because I had isolated myself and I had a shallow relationship with just about everyone. Hello, how you doing? Good to see you. That was me, and keep it moving. I saw my parents probably twice a week because I moved out, and then I would go to work like 16 hours a day, and came back home and have to endure this. But once again, who do I turn to? Because everyone told me, the first time he clenched his fist at me, my mom was there. And she said, he's going to hit you one day. And I didn't believe it. I said, no, he won't hit me. I just said my mom was being unfair. She just didn't want me to have a boyfriend, didn't want me to, didn't want to let go of being a mom. And I just kept saying, I'm grown. I know what I'm doing. And she said, mark my words, Candace. He's going to hit you. So when he did, I didn't want to have that I told you so conversation with her. So I kept it inside. Just like the sexual assault, I kept it inside. I'm going to pray my way out of this one, is what I thought. Let me pray my way out and figure a way out, but I'm going to pray my way out of this situation. And, through it all, God protected me. I'm here today, He has protected me. But there were times that he gave me the way out because I had been put in this prison of shame inside myself. I didn't see it.
Candace, there was no one. I was your choir director. I would see you at choir rehearsal. You would sign, smile, concerts, and that worries me that you couldn't even come to Brother Nolan and I. And this is what our young people are facing today. Who do they turn to? Who can they talk to and feel safe to be able to come to and feel protected. You know, and it devastates me that, you know, you were in my home every Tuesday and I never saw it. I never picked up on it.
Dr. Nowlin, how can I put it? I felt I was doing wrong because I was cohabitating. That's wrong. And I was having premarital sex. So you have this, of course, in your mind, the wages of sin is death. So I felt like this was basically what I chose. Not that I deserved to be abused, but because I had stepped out of the line that God had for me, the bad things that were coming my way, in a way I deserved it. So I take it back. I knew I didn't deserve it, but as far as what I felt spiritual ramifications should be, that maybe this is what you get, this is what you deserve. Like, yes, a punishment because I stepped out of God's will.
That's when there was a time when you stopped coming to church.
Yes, like I said, I had shut down from everyone, good friends, and church became a problem. Now, one, I still didn't trust church because of the sexual assault that occurred. So when the person I was dating continued to make negative comments about me getting up in the morning to go to church or for Sabbath service, it became easy just to say, let it go. You know, when you go there, you're not feeling the warmth, the love. So just let it go. Stop going, stop being fake, because it's hard. It is hard to make up your face, not just with foundation and mascara or whatever. It's hard to make up your face, to lie to everyone and say you're okay. So I just let it go. Like, all right, I don't need to go. I'll just sit at home, relax this weekend, get my mind straight. To kind of avoid the abuse, I was working 16 hours a day. So weekends became kind of really a day of rest. Like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I can't even push myself out of bed. And I was able to stay away from that individual during that time. The more I'm working, the busier I am, the less you have reason to find fault with me. So we wouldn't have these fights, we wouldn't have these arguments or so. And I felt like I was on this merry-go-round. I just couldn't get off. Just going and going and going and just say, oh my goodness, I wish this would stop. Most humiliating time came, one of our arguments was caught on a voicemail. I had called my brother and sister-in-law. I had just come back from Alabama, and I called them and let them know I made it. And I didn't get them. And I thought I hung up the phone. And here he was just yelling everything at me. And
you had just come back?
I had just came back. Wow. He wasn't even a part of the trip. I just came back like, hey, I'm your girlfriend. Aren't you happy to see me? And he just had an attitude as soon as I, got in the car, and it just started. Like, I can't remember the exact words, but I know he yelled. And he didn't hit me that night. He just yelled and yelled and yelled. And to the point, okay, I didn't know my sibling, my sister-in-law heard it. So they contacted my parents, and that's when my parents became aware of what was really going on. So I contacted my parents. Parents got over to my home, and I just like, oh, here's my out, right? But I was like, no, he didn't do this. I was fearful then, like, no, that didn't happen. It wasn't as bad as it was, because it wasn't as bad as it was. It was just an argument, just a day of demeaning me. It wasn't, I'm getting pounded or anything. So I was like, no, it's not this, it's not that. Or so my dad just said, Candance, I don't want to go to jail, but I will. I will for you. And I said, Daddy, I understand. But then I tried to handle things on my own. I was like, I can fix this. I can pray through it. I can do this. But I couldn't. I couldn't do it. So
did your dad and mom talk to both of you together? Or?
My dad did. And at the time, I kept denying that I had been hit.
Okay.
But my dad is wonderful, and he could fix anything. So Dad would talk to him, and it seemed like things would go well for a minute. But then he'll make comments about, you want to run to your family to fix this? You sure you're gonna go cry home to mommy and daddy? And I'm like, wait, I want to be a grown woman. I want to show that I can be independent. So once again, you're attacking who I am, what I've become. So just tearing down, you know. And I could say I could take partial blame because I had handled first situation with counseling, with talking to people. Then I doubt seriously that I would, you know, have even gotten into that relationship because I wouldn't have felt the shame. You know, I would have known I had support. You know.
So you're saying that if you had made an effort, you know, to get premarital counseling or when it started happening to receive counseling, it would have been better for you?
I do believe so.
Okay.
If I had spoke about it.
Okay.
If I just said something. It's so funny. Last night, I'm going to say this quickly, I put on Facebook my status, I want a chocolate brownie. And I had to say it because holding that in all day just made the craving just grow and grow and grow. And when I finally put it on Facebook, I'm okay, I'm fine. The chocolate craving is gone. And that's kind of how I feel now about anything. You're going through something, struggling, just let it out. Say it. It gives you the power. Because it's like it's not trapped inside of you, biting. I mean, you know, because it was a tussle. It felt like I was at a spiritual war all the time. And so now that I say it, now that I speak, I'm no longer in fear. You know, now I say, hey, I was a victim of sexual assault and I'm a social worker. It happens.
Candance, let me ask you this. We have about 6 minutes. How did the relationship end? How did you get out? And was he the father of your child?
Okay. Yes, I am a mom. And it's a wonderful thing. Yes, he is the father of my child. When I had my son, I learned to love something more than myself. And because I wasn't loving me, loving this beautiful baby made me kind of love myself more. To say, you know, this isn't the life you want for him. And it wasn't the life I wanted for myself. I kind of plotted a way to get out. Because with domestic violence, you know, sometimes when you leave abruptly, it can lead to death or more violence. So it took basically like almost a year and a half to leave. I stopped paying the rent on the apartment so we could get evicted, though I had plenty of money. I had to stop paying it. So we were evicted. He had to go his way, I had to go my way. I went back home to my parents and I remained there and under their protective covering. And after a while, he became really frustrated. Like he saw that we weren't moving, living together. I started calling the police when threats came. And I finally pressed charges, filed my personal protection order. And basically, that's kind of where the relationship ended. It stopped. And started talking to people. Started talking to my mom, started talking to my dad, my brothers and sisters, talking to church members, what I was going through. And I just, because even sometimes at my workplace, he would show up.
Really?
And when I started telling people at work what was happening, I even worked for some of my church members for a while, and he showed up, and it was just known like, hey, this isn't supposed to happen. So now my circle began to build and people started looking out for me when I didn't look out for myself. They were looking out for me. So that's how the relationship ended. It was just getting the power, speaking about it, knowing what I deserve, knowing that I wanted better for my son. You know, he said, hey, he shouldn't be in a single parent home. These are statistics. He will be in prison. He will probably be on drugs because this is statistics of a single parent. No, but let me tell you what happens if he's in a domestic violence home. This is not going to happen. So that's where the relationship ended.
So what about him seeing his son? You know, how does that work?
Well, we have a custody order right now, and we exchange the child through third parties.
Okay.
We also, he sees him sometimes. He's not consistent with seeing him, but prayerfully, you know, I just want my son to know that he's loved. And we're still in a world where mom, dad is the standard that all kids should have. And I don't want him to feel that he's missing out. So when he watches television and says, hey, they have a daddy. I'm like, yeah, so do you. So I communicate that my son is loved. And as this individual, as his father goes through whatever journey in life, it's not my problem right now. Prayerfully, he will make it back to being a dad. Prayerfully, just like I had to grow and realize my worth. Prayerfully that he will learn the worth of people, his worth, and become the father that our son deserves.
So where's Candance now? Where is Candance? Candance is back in the church.
Yes, I am. Candance is good.
Candance is good.
Candance is. I'm back in the church, and I'm really back in the church. I'm not there just faking. I'm the choir director of the kids and leader of adventurers and part of God's Hands of Praise. And I feel comfortable because I'm me. I'm no longer rejecting me. I am who I am. This is what I've always been. Anybody that speaks against my church, I really don't deal with them because I say I don't need anybody attacking what I've learned, what I've grown, what I know. And so since I don't really surround myself around people who are against me, I'm good.
You're good.
Excellent.
You're healthy.
I'm good. I'm so good.
Any relationships?
No, I'm not in any relationship.
Being still.
I'm being still. I so love me.
Okay, that's great.
I appreciate the fact that, you know, where you are right now, and you're able to appreciate the covering of your parents, but most of all, the covering of Jesus Christ. And in the last few minutes, what have you learned, and what can you say to our viewers, someone who may be going through this in the last 30 minutes, 30 seconds?
What I have learned is when you don't speak, you become weak. If you talk, if you just say something to someone, don't get caught up in your own thoughts because the devil will make you believe what isn't true. If you just go and ask and say, I need help, or give a hypothetical situation, something, just talk, reach out to people. The devil is busy, and he will seek you out in any way. So don't have the doubt. When you have a doubt, go out, talk to people, just talk. I got my strength. The violence really stopped when I started speaking about what was happening to me.
Amen. Well, I think Candance has said it all. You have to go out and you have to tell someone, let someone know, and that you're not alone, and someone will help you. Well, Candance, we really appreciate you coming on, making it work, and you have learned to make it work by taking time for you, loving your son, and loving yourself.
Also, just one final thing I would like to add. Family support is very important.
The family support. Well, I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin.
I'm Arthur Nolan.
And you have been with us on Making It Work. God bless.
God bless.